Yeah. How's it going? We're live now. Yeah. So I actually had a stream earlier this week, and actually, do you know who Theron Tharrell's? There's a person called, I don't know how to spell his name, who I'm kind of friends with. Yeah. You ever heard of his channel or no? Or
I have not.
no. Yeah, it didn't go very mostly because just the how did I say it? Just it was what's it called again? The stream, the video wasn't really whatever entertaining, and yeah, well, and I don't think the person really even wanted to be there per se. So it was like didn't go so well. Yeah, so I hope this stream could go better, even though yeah. But anyways, yeah. So we were going to originally talk about the whole Nick Fuentes react to the whole stream, but then after a week passed, I decided it was just better to react to the follow, which is um very funny actually to think about it. But it's like if I'm being honest here, I'm annoyed with both sides. The side I don't have the tweets for, but the side from supporting Nick Fuentes, like I'm seeing like some mainstream figures like Michael J. Flynn doing it, which it's sort of like gaslighting you into thinking, oh, he's not, Nick is not a controversial figure. And they're giving examples, and their examples is like, he just wants to, say that Israel shouldn't control America so much, which I guess is not controversial, and that Jews kill Jesus, like stuff. And then again, like, I hate when people like say the phrase, "Oh, why am I so controversial? I'm just criticizing Jews for having overrepresentations in media and trying to harm society. Why am I so controversial?" I think it's like a Jake Shields type thing they do, or like a person says, "Why am I so controversial? All I do is say that blacks and whites have different IQs." Like some I don't think people understand that just because something is true does not mean it's not controversial, or just because something is true doesn't make it not racist. Stuff that are racist could be true. Do people think the KKK don't believe they're saying the true thing? So that's what kind of annoys me from Nick's side. You see where I'm getting at, or not really? Or
Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from. And let me just say quickly, like, I think that the interview itself with Tucker and Nick was not even that interesting. Like, it was pretty milquetoast. I mean, Tucker gave him a pretty softball interview.
yeah.
There was not much that was revealed from that, but I do think the fallout from it and the response, like you look at the Heritage Foundation, you look at all of these like people that are getting increasingly hysterical, that's where the action is, and I think that's the far more interesting part of the story.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hey, real quick, man, sorry to interrupt you, but I don't see this live on your channel.
Oh, is this on my other channel? Oh, I put this on private, so let me just put this on live. Yeah, I mean people could. Yeah. Oopsie daisy, we're live now. Yeah, I guess that's what happens if by mistake. Forgot to put. But yeah, it's not a big deal because I put it on recording so people could go back. But yeah. But what I was gonna say is I remember like saying to you like only Shmuley Batach is a crazy Zionist, but now I think you're right on some stuff based on how some people are reacting to this. I'm not like they're acting very unstable to how like saying they're openly going to cancel whoever supports Nick. I mean, I'm not sure where these people are, but what do they think they're trying to do? If they really want to cancel Tucker Carlson, I said Nick. Should have said Tucker Carlson. Then they could just do it.
Well, they want to cancel both.
Yeah, exactly. But they could just do it in private. So I mean, like, why? I mean, that would still be a bad whatever, still get out. But like doing this openly, really, because if you're a Jew, I can understand why a Jew would not like Nick Fuentes and not want him to rule over America. You could disagree. But if you're a Jew, let's say, you could understand why they don't want him to have power. That was the right reason. Right? Is the right reason? We could debate on that, but so I could get why they're being like nervous. But his response is just, people's response to this is like they're acting. It's just like it's with the whole Kanye situation. The Jews sort of proved Kanye West's points by banning him and debanking him. It's sort of like I don't know what how they don't realize this, if they're just too scared or not thinking. I just don't know.
Yeah, one point on this real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm reading, there's a bunch of articles like in mainstream press this week about Nick all of a sudden. And so I was reading one in the Washington Post, and they put in a scare quote like Nick talking about organized Jewry, and they talk about like how offensive it is that he would suggest that. And then in the same article, they talk about the ADL, and they quote some guy from the ADL saying, yeah, we need to work harder to get these social media companies to ban this speech. That's why it's so dangerous. And it's like, what is the ADL other than organized Jewry?
Exactly.
Like, that's literally what it is. It is a Jewish organization that is working hard to leverage their connections to ban and censor speech that they don't like. So that's what Nick is talking about.
I mean, whenever people say censoring people, I just don't listen to them. Once you say you want to censor somebody, I just, you lose sort of. I'm not going to listen to you anymore on what you're saying. I sort of lost respect for you.
I think that's a great heuristic. That's a good rule.
Yeah. No, but like, yeah. What was it going? I hate when this happens. But you think the people that are able to, like, remember the whole pager thing that Israel did with Hezbollah? You would think like people like that would know how to, because like it's really not hard to cancel Nick. If people want to cancel Nick, they could very easily cancel Nick. There are many, like, if you really want to cancel Nick, you're not going to cancel him by like showing him saying anti stuff about Jews or stuff like that. That's why people support him. If you really want to cancel him, you ever heard of the Kino Casino?
Yes, unfortunately.
Oh, you don't like? No, but they did a good job canceling Nick to a point. Now they sort of, but now I guess it's sort of, like basically.
I mean, did they do a good job? Because no one's heard about them, and everyone's heard about Nick.
Right. I mean, by that point, they did. But one thing if they really want to cancel Nick, cancel it where it hurts him. Cancel him for being gay and for saying many gay things. I'm not sure if he's gay, but it says a lot of things that, even if he's not gay, are not really the most normal things to say in regards.
Well, it depends on who you're trying to cancel him to. Is the problem? Like, if they said that they can't, these people can't get away with saying that he's gay and like using that as an attack, because especially like these like respected institutions, like the Washington Post and the New York Times, they're not going to say, "Oh, he's gay," like, because that they can't use that as a smear. And the people that you're going to use that to cancel him to have already heard enough that they're not going to accept that either. So I think at this point the cat is kind of out of the bag,
right.
And I don't know what they're going to do. I'm kind of curious.
No, it's really simple. There's a huge kryptonite. Dali Akbar thing is kryptonite. Dali Alexander thing, that's kryptonite that almost destroyed Nick, and it's never brought up.
Well, we will see. I mean, I think they're maybe keeping that powder dry as like their last ditch effort at the end. But I don't know if they'll be able to show that Nick was involved, or that like they'll be able to show that Ali Alexander was doing some sus stuff with young boys for sure. But will they be able to
Nick's reaction to the whole thing?
Nick is implicated.
Nick's reaction to the whole thing was very, very bad. Like, he victim blamed Smiley. He said, like, I'm the real victim here. I'm the real victim here. Like,
but that's pretty. You see how that's pretty convoluted to be like, well, he then said it was kind of the guy's fault, and it's like there's a lot of layers there. It's not as simple. Like, the dumbass public needs to see a video of Nick saying something so they can get mad about.
Well,
they're not going to read 7 layers.
Milo had like a thing that exposed him in 4K. He had like text messages.
I know. And how did that work out? Not much, because it's too many layers. You have to read one. You have to like listen to a long message, and it's not snappy enough to be effective. Right.
Oh, for sure. I get what you're saying, but as you say, I think that's their main plan. If like and you're going to see in this video about actual Justice Warrior, he's going to explain this. But the Democrats are supporting Nick. The people that are propping up Nick a lot is the New York Times, stuff like that, and they're doing this to promote Nick. They're not doing this to necessarily cancel Nick. That's why I think Jay in stream, he asked like the New York.
I disagree with you on that. They're doing this to try to take down the right wing.
Right, exactly.
They're saying they're not trying to promote Nick. They're trying to say, look, Nick is connected now, and the right wing has to decide if they want him to be a part. They're trying to like, do kind of like a guilt by association thing.
Right.
But I don't think they're still trying to take down Nick. They're still saying he's a terrible person, but they're trying to say like, look how bad he is, and everyone on the right is terrible now too. And they're trying to take JD Vance down because JD said, "Hey, we need to stop the infighting," but he didn't directly disavow Nick and Tucker.
Mhm.
So they're trying to like do guilt by association. But I don't think. I mean, they're still besmirching Nick as well.
No, but what I mean is this: like, no, you're right in that sense. But what was I gonna say? Is that they're not trying to promote Nick, but they're trying to show him as being what the right is, trying to make it look like he's part of the right, and which is a dumb idea because making him a right wing figure is sort of like making right wing people, which is this is the thing I see on Twitter is people try to get get the most extreme position possible on Twitter, and many people say if he's right wing, then I should support him. You know what I mean? That's how it is with people that are, especially people that are obsessed with politics. They like treat their political side like a religion. So that's the one mistake. They're actually. But another thing is this: is like I don't think they're trying to cancel him. They're trying to sort of like put him into like they're not put they like Jaden McNeil's like asked the reporter, why didn't you tell them the Ali Alexander situation? They said, yeah, we know about it. We just wanted to speak about him being racist. We thought that was more important. You know what I mean? So I think their view is the left wing's view is, and this is a mistake that they're doing. It's sort of like what Israel kind of did with Hamas. No, it's a little bit different. Is try to make him the face of the right wing. So they believe this could be used to take down the right wing. And I think eventually this is like what happened with Trump. The Access Hollywood tape did not come until the end. So that's going to be next kryptonite, basically. I don't know if it'll cancel him. It might. The thing didn't cancel Trump. Granted, this is a lot worse than the Trump thing. But also, to be fair, it's a lot more multiple layers. But this is, I think, if Nick ever becomes, because I before I was in denial of Nick being a popular figure, ever being, mainstream. But the more I see, I feel like it's in God kind of, for better or worse, wants him to become a mainstream figure, for better or for worse.
Well, but real quick, going back to your point, so you brought up the Access Hollywood tape, right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. That was an audio clip where Trump said something. He had a one-liner that was very offensive to people. And so it was easy for the public to jump on that. There is no such video clip of Nick endorsing what Ali did. There's no such video clip that even explains what went on. And also, the left wing loves gay pedophiles, so they're not gonna go off of that. They think racism is far more offensive than gay pedophilia, so they're not gonna go after that stuff. And maybe they will later, like as a cynical play, if nothing else works. But I'm just telling you, there's not an Access Hollywood clip that I've seen of Nick regarding that controversy.
Right, because with Nick, I mean, like, him supporting racism is the most. I mean, not supporting him supporting pedophilia, because there's clips of him like saying some pretty, disgusting things. Like, you remember what he said about the whole Mary thing? Like, he doesn't want to choose a wife that's mature, that's of age. He wants to choose the best one available. Like the Holy Spirit, decide a wife of age. No, do you want to talk about or no? About the whole Holy Spirit?
Yeah, I've heard that clip.
Yeah,
and they said something about the milk, the fresh milk, and whatever. Yeah, I've heard. I mean, look, Nick is not like he's not a leader. Like I don't think anyone should look at Nick as a movement leader. He is an internet political commentator.
Right.
But in doing that job, he has now kind of brought these dark forces out that are going crazy to stop him, and he's revealed this network of dual loyalists and outright traitors that are working hard to silence him and now to silence Tucker. So I think he is useful in this moment as we're trying to rid ourselves of this albatross that we have. But no, I mean, I think I hope people aren't looking at Nick as some like future leader or anything, but for his function as the sunlight to disinfect our political sphere, I think it's going to be very useful.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't think for sure Nick is not a leader. For sure, he's very, very far. The way if you go through the lore of him, you know that how he acts is very impulsive. He's clearly not a leadership type person. He's too antisocial to be a leader. But
he's very feminine.
Right, exactly. Very. But one thing about the Holy Spirit thing, doesn't it say, according to Christians, doesn't it say that you cannot be forgiven if you blasphemize the Holy Spirit? Like I know, like people are angry about what Ben Shapiro said about Jesus, but doesn't the Bible say you could be forgiven for that, but not for the Holy Spirit thing. Am I wrong about this, or at least
It does say that it does say that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is an unforgivable sin, but I don't believe that Nick blasphemed the Holy Spirit saying that.
I mean, he did say that the Holy Spirit is like a pedophile. Didn't you say that? Like,
No, he said the Holy Spirit chose Mary, and Mary was a certain age. But I mean, I don't think that I mean, that's just a fact as far as I know. I don't know if her age is listed or not in the Bible. We can look that up.
I
But
mean,
if
the
he
way he
says
framed it
that,
was
then
for
that is.
sure. You agree the way he framed it was pretty, whatever.
I think that blasphemy like has a real definition. I don't think that rises to the level of that.
Do you believe like I don't want to get too on topic of that. Do you believe like a Muslim that says Jesus is just the Messiah? Do you think that's blasphemy?
Sorry, say what?
Different theological views on Jesus. Do you think that's blasphemy or not really?
No, I think if you said that like Jesus was like demon possessed, or if you said like like some I guess that's kind of the way I would look at it. If you call like God evil, or if you said that Jesus was evil, or something along those lines, I think that's blasphemy.
Right. So
I think making a joke or even saying something that's not quite as like, I think Nick was certainly being irreverent, and it was probably sinful, but I don't think it rises to the level of like an unforgivable sin.
Right. Well, what I'm trying to say is him promoting pedophilia is very dangerous because his people in his movement are not most likely going to take a gun and shoot people. They're too lazy. They're mostly internet dwellers. What they would do is they would do pedophilia. I think most people that are like caught by Alex Rosen are people that are on the computer all day or by these predator channels. They're people that you could think seeing Nick Fuentes. I mean, some of them are old, but the young ones you could definitely see them being into, so it is pretty dangerous for him to sort of okay it because it'll make his fans think it's okay to do these things, and they have the tolerance to do that. So
I think Nick has said some really stupid stuff, but I don't think that he's promoting pedophilia.
Well,
I would say that he's not. I do think there's probably. I mean, there could be some fans of his that are into some very weird stuff because he attracts like the fringe of the internet. I don't think it rises to the level of what you see on like the tranny left. I think those people are way worse. But I don't like, again. I'm not gonna sit here and say Nick. I mean, he's said a lot of really really stupid things that have harmed his brand and have harmed his future. So yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's. I mean, like you heard about the leaked Telegram chat, Nick's leaked Telegram chat.
Is this a recent thing?
No, it's long. They called the Sussy Squad.
Yeah, I read some stuff about it. I know there's like some borderline people in there that were working for him.
No, I mean, but they had group chats where they actually sent like tranny stuff, like I mean, and they defended it as being like the whole phrase like doing it as a joke, sending inappropriate videos as like a joke, basically. So I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe you could say that Antifa left, but his side is also they're in. If you're on the computer a lot, it's not good for a person's mental health. Bottom line. So
I agree. There's a lot of weird freaks that are involved with that movement, with all internet movements. Weird freaks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So let me get to the video because this person I think makes a perfect thing. Says a perfect thing.
Real quick, give me some background on this guy. Give me some background on this person that we're watching.
Oh yeah, he's a pretty. How do I put? I don't know how to explain him though, but he's the type of person that says he's like his videos on crime, basically, right? And on laws that they like New York makes, like bail reform. Like he criticized those laws. He's like makes videos on George Floyd, stuff like that.
Okay, is he American? Is he Christian? Is he Jewish? Is he conservative?
He's conservative, but he's more of a libertarian conservative. Not like those libertarians that are like how do I put this? Not like those libertarians that are like want to like basically think Osama bin Laden is a good person or that believe they should sell a 16-year-old crack. But he's libertarian. I think he's an atheist, but he's pretty conservative. I would say he's pretty conservative, but he's not like he's not racist. He's not racist. he's like a, why do I have him? Yeah, he's not racist. So I don't know how to pinpoint him. I would say like he's like a reasonable conservative person. Like I don't know.
Is he a
Maybe
Zionist? Is he a Jewish person?
no, he's not Jewish. Is he a Zionist? He's not anti-Israel, but he's not. I wouldn't call him. Doesn't speak too much about Israel. How about if I put you that way? He barely speaks about Israel.
I've got it. Let's see what we got. Thank you.
American haters, Churchill haters, you're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them. It's called the market system. They don't have a lifetime job like a bureaucrat who we're going to protect. And if they're your friend, there's something wrong with you.
So there's currently a all-out war in the conservative movement. It is represented by conservative media. And if you've missed it, you haven't been paying attention, because the most notable figures in conservative media are in this fight right now at this moment. And some of the most controversial figures are participating as well. And obviously, the left-wing media is trying to put their thumb on the scale for who they want to win. So I think it's important for us to talk about on this channel where I think conservative media and the conservative movement is going, and whether or not I think that's a good thing. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
So make no mistake about it, this war has been brewing for a long time. The undercurrent of disagreement and fundamental differences has been building up over the past few years. And by the way, all of this is agitated by the post-October 7th Israeli-Palestinian war. And obviously, the division on that has spawned and spiraled basically out of control to the point where you have these conservative media figures constantly attacking one another. And it's important for us to all understand the factions of this particular war, because a lot of people get lumped in together that don't necessarily belong together. So I think it's smart of us to break them down into 4 different divisions of people, because I think that will help you understand what the hell is going on when you see all of these people fighting constantly. So first and foremost, you have Nick Fuentes and the Groypers. Now, Nick has been canceled for the last 10 years. He's been building up his audience in all these different various places and has essentially punched his way into the mainstream. And Nick is somebody who considers himself further to the right than every other group that are actually being talked about in this particular country.
Well, one thing I'll say about Nick, people say he's far right. He's far right, but in my opinion, besides for his views on race and some social issues, is he really that far right? Like his views on economics or stuff like that, is he really that far right? Or
no, I totally agree with you. Like, I think this guy's wrong. I don't even think Nick would say I'm the furthest right-wing guy. I don't.
No, even far right people like Jared Taylor, people consider him far right, but he's like, I'm sorry, but he's like, what do they call again? Besides for his views on race, he's pretty moderate. If like he's pro-abortion, he's like second. So yeah, I don't know. 1 second. For some reason, I'm having trouble with the speed button.
What if you click on normal? If you click on normal there, does that do something?
Yeah. No,
really. Oh, wow. It's just totally cooked. What do you know?
I mean, this is only a 23 video, so it's not the...
That's fine.
Belong together. So I think it's smart. This war has been brewing for a long time. The undercurrent of disagreement and fundamental differences has been building up over the past few years. And by the way, all of this is agitated by the post-October 7th Israel constantly attacking one another. And it's important for us to all understand the factions of this particular war. It will help you understand what the hell he's been building up his audience in all these different various places and has essentially punched his way into the mainstream. And Nick is somebody who considers himself further to the right than every other group that are actually being talked about in this particular conflict. And this is because while you'll have people in our next faction, which are like the Candace Owens and the Tucker Carlson, try their best to keep the conversation to Zionism and the Israeli lobby, Nick Fuentes outright says that he is worried about global Jewry, because for him, it's not necessarily Israel itself. It happens to be the Jews having too much control throughout world society. So he's definitely...
I mean, what was he? Candace Owens is almost as extreme as Nick on the Jewish question. Is he really putting her a step below Nick when it comes to the Jewish thing. I mean, like, am I wrong about this? Or
Who are you asking? Who do you think
Candace
is?
Owens? Candace Owens is more extreme than Nick. I mean, just as extreme as Nick on the Jewish question. Am I wrong about this? Or
She never says Jews. She just says Zionists.
I mean, she could get pretty close to. I mean, she like her Frankist comments. I mean, she's pretty.
Yeah, but it's like then she's playing some shell game with the Frankists. Like it's not. I would say Nick is way more explicit.
I mean, come on, her comments on the Zohar, on the Kabbalah. You remember that comment she made?
Yeah, but it's always like 3 layers of obfuscation to try to make it seem like she's not actually saying it. So I would say that she's less explicit, and I don't even think that she herself has thought about it that much. I think she just maybe knows how to dog whistle to the right people, but I don't know.
I'm just wondering, just before I like go further, do people believe a racist? So if somebody's racist, but he's far left in everything else, do people still consider him right wing? I'm just curious. I'm like,
That's a good question. I would probably say it would depend on who you asked and like what type of racism.
because I feel like racism is not actually a thing that has a political ideology. I find it so weird people think it's a political. For somebody could be a racist and believe in communism, or could believe in abortion, or could believe in gay marriage. I mean, it's like
Richard Spencer. I mean, Richard Spencer is but I think people would say he's right wing just because he is racist, but he's just like a liberal.
right, or
He's
like
he's a racist libcuck.
I mean, and people like you've been around daily life. Many liberals are racist now that they won't admit it, but many of them for
Well,
sure.
I mean, what does that even mean? Like all liberals or most of them hate white people.
I
They're
mean,
just not racist against
I mean, fine. Like
brown people.
many of them will feel uncomfortable around the black, even though they might claim to not hate black people, but they would feel uncomfortable among a black. They wouldn't be so fond if their child would be dating a black person.
Yeah, but we'd have to sit here and then define what racism actually means. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, people have like a natural racial affinity to their in group that white people will then try to fight against. But it's like, I don't know if you would call that person a racist.
Okay,
Like,
well,
for as far as like explicit racism or explicit like racial preference or explicit racial pattern recognition, most of those people would be considered on the right wing.
I mean, yes, I don't know. I mean, like there are right wing people, many right wing people I know that wouldn't be mind their kids dating a black person, and there are many, left wing people I know that would get nervous of their brother or sister, anybody marrying a person of color, and I've seen this in real life. So, I mean, I don't know. You ever saw this in real life or no? Or
Yeah, I think I probably have, but I mean, it's kind of me. Like if they would get a little upset if their daughter does or whatever, that's not really going to impact their life. Otherwise, it's not going to impact their behavior.
They wouldn't want to live in a black neighborhood, or they wouldn't really sell their house to black people. Like,
Hey, nobody does. That's why they're so cheap to live there.
right, exactly. But, yeah.
Furthest in that particular camp, but right next to him is, of course, the Tucker Carlson and the Candace Owenses. Now, to be clear, Candace Owens is kind of lumped in here with Tucker Carlson because these were both mainstream media figures that basically split from a more establishment form of alternative media. But I could see the argument for putting Candace Owens closer to Nick. But right now, as of this moment, I want to talk about Tucker and, of course, Candace. So obviously, they have drifted further away from the regular base of conservative media that is represented by Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin and all these other establishment mainstream media figures. And they have received a ton of backlash for this. And most recently, they have gotten backlash, specifically Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Okay. How it's just funny that his frame of reference is like, well, Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, they are the base of conservative politics. I would say it's quite the opposite in that Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro have drifted from the base of conservative politics because all they care about is Israel. Tucker, I think, represents somewhat of the zeitgeist of like the conservative voters. I think most of the voters and like normal people are closer to him, certainly, than Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin. So I think this guy kind of just revealed his frame of reference and where it sits.
Well, I'll put you this way. I do agree with you on what you said about Ben Shapiro, on the Israel thing. But I don't think Tucker Carlson is either. I mean, for me, I just don't understand Tucker Carlson. He seems like, let's take the whole Israel thing out of it. seems to me like he's a third worlder in many cases. You know, like he like defending Maduro, like stuff like that. I don't think most, at least most boomers would. I think like, in my opinion, Mark Levine is what he says is he's more like for the boomer types. Do you get what I mean? The boomers will agree with him, or you know what I mean. Ben Shapiro, I guess,
maybe, but when Tucker was on TV, he was the #1 cable show, and a lot of boomers were watching.
I mean, but with boomers, like, that's the thing, though. There's a reason why. I mean, I guess it's also because Fox would never allow him to do that. I think that was probably the main reason. Also, if he said this on television, I think he would tick off a lot of boomers. Many boomers like Israel. You know what I mean? It's like you know many Gen Xers care about immigration. The conservative base cares about immigration. I think Israel is very important to the boomer conservative. Maybe I'm wrong, but do you agree with me or?
No, you're totally right. But I think even among them and some Gen X, like even they are starting to wonder, like, does this level of control of the U.S. foreign policy and you know, they also like free speech. So when they see these people calling for cancellation and stuff, I don't think they like that, even if they do support Israel.
Well, I mean, if you hear Mark Levine's show, he doesn't go. I don't think he even mentions Nick Fuentes. So, I mean, many boomers don't even know what's happening on the internet. You'd be surprised. I like speak to so many people who have no idea who Nick Fuentes is, who knows nothing about internet culture. It's like, you know,
They don't, but they know who Tucker Carlson is, and they know that now people are trying to get him canceled.
right? No, for sure. But I mean, still, like, even if you ever heard radio, it's clearly the people that call in are mostly pro-Israel. They're not too many. You heard the radio, right? With these conservative shows.
Yeah, man, I used to listen to Mark Levin every day. I listened to Michael Savage every day back year.
Yeah, those people. I mean, I guess Michael Savage might be his. Yeah, he's also funny. Did you hear the whole thing? Him like calling Tucker Carlson a Nazi, like texting him that. I mean, like,
yeah, Tucker called him. Tucker called him because which was nice of Tucker. And I responded to Michael Savage about that on Twitter. I think Michael is a good guy. I mean, he's Jewish as well, and I know he's a Zionist, but he also really identifies as an American. So I think that those identities often find themselves at odds with each other.
no,
But
I think
do have a
he's
lot
more
of
like he's not really a Zionist though. He's clearly America first, but he's like a Zionist, but also has a twist that he doesn't believe America doesn't like foreign interventions and doesn't believe like. You get what I mean, right? He doesn't believe we should.
You're right. No, I mean he's really an edge case. His Jewish identity is very important to him, but I wouldn't describe him as like an Israel first guy. I do think he likes Israel, he supports Israel, but he's America first.
Well, I think his support for Israel is more or less about Israel itself and more about his fear about anti-Semitism. That's, I think, is one him. He just gets nervous that people are going to be anti-Semitic and hate Jews. That's his whole. Like I remember
think you're right.
I think the rant he did about Candace Owens. I remember Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. He like went on a whole rant on Spurg out about them when he thought they said that Tyler Robinson was the Mossad that killed Charlie Kirk, not Tyler Robinson. He says, "You guys are going to get a synagogue shut down." You know what I mean? Like, I think he's more nervous about that.
Which also is just like that's just the hysterical behavior that I can't stand. But I do like Michael Savage.
No, Michael Savage is funny. Yeah. So.
Due to the fact that he platformed Nick Fuentes and honestly went super soft on him throughout the course of the interview. Now, to be clear, I do agree that Tucker Carlson did not press Nick at all whatsoever, and it's actually impressive when you compare and contrast his interview with Ted Cruz to his interview with Nick Fuentes. But in Tucker's defense, he had a response to this critique when he was talking to Megyn Kelly, and part of me wants to agree with Tucker.
Well, that's what I'm going to say here. I think it's so stupid people like anti-Tucker Carlson for wanting to interview Nick Fuentes. I mean, like, the Time magazine interviewed Hitler. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing wrong with interviewing Nick. But the problem I do have is, like, if he wants to be, he did a softball interview with Nick. I mean, like, and that's okay if that's his style. Like, people say that's his style. Okay. But he didn't have the same style with Ted Cruz. You know what I mean? I think it would have been better. I mean, don't get me wrong. He didn't. He did question Nick Fuentes more than his other interviewers, but he still wasn't like Ted.
Ted made it pretty combative, though. I think Ted basically accused him of being anti-Semitic in the interview, which triggered Tucker. I mean, I'd also say that Tucker knows Ted and has like talked to him before. It was like his first time talking to Nick Fuentes, and also Ted is a U.S. senator who seems dead set on supporting Israel at any cost. So I think it's more important to press somebody like that than to press Nick.
I mean, Nick,
at the time
though,
Tucker interviewed.
if you see Tucker Carlson's normal interviews, he did press, I think, more on Nick than he does like the standard person. So I mean, it wasn't totally.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
on that particular response.
Nick Fuentes has said a long list of very vile things.
Big time, including attacking my dad, which was the most vile of all, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have watched videos of him questioning the Holocaust, likening it to baking cookies in the oven. And there's no way you could have gotten to 6 million, seems to be his theory. He seems to think that we've way overstated the number of Jews killed in the Holocaust. He's ripped on poor Usha Vance in the most offensive terms, which I mean, so what do you say to those people who say, why didn't you raise any of that?
You know, do your own interview the way that you want to do it. You're not my editor. Buzz off. I mean, I don't know. You want to go yell at Nick Fuentes? I'll give you his cell. Call him and go sit and yell at him and feel virtuous or whatever. That's up to you. I got the same thing with Putin. Why aren't you yelling at him? Okay. Why? So I can show that I'm a good person? I care about what my wife thinks, my children think, and God thinks. And that's it. I don't need to prove that I'm a good person to you. You may think I'm a terrible person. Okay. I'm just doing my thing, which is I want to understand what people think. And I'm committed to that. And if you don't like it, don't watch. That's my view.
Yeah, look, I do disagree with the way that.
I mean, like, one thing I'll say here, though, is you say he pushed on Ted Cruz because he was a senator, but why didn't he really did not push? I mean, it wasn't softball. He didn't scream at Vladimir Putin, but do you think he could have gone harder on Vladimir Putin, or?
I don't think so. I mean, Tucker was done some weird stuff with Russia. I don't know. I mean, first of all, I'm not the biggest fan of Tucker. I think he is often intellectually lazy and he's into some weird stuff. I mean, the UFO stuff I think is very strange, and he's made some weird claims about being attacked by a demon. So I'm not the biggest Tucker fan, but he is very important to the conservative movement because he's so popular.
Right.
For the Putin thing, you know, you're interviewing one of the most powerful men in the world through a translator. You're kind of just, I mean, I don't care that much. I think it was fine.
Right, I think his interview I'm sorry. No, more thinking about it, he did ask many questions to Putin. It was actually a pretty good interview. But he kind of lost it after the whole grocery store scene. That's what kind of like.
Yeah, that was so embarrassing and stupid. And then I mean,
because
Putin went on like an hour long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putin
was just spurting out the whole time. It was a very odd interview.
No, I'm saying like the Putin interview was actually a very good interview. He actually, he actually brought up questions about what he used to do, like him killing.
I found it annoying because Putin is autistic and will just talk about random bullshit he'll filibuster and just talk forever. But I mean, Tucker was trying to get him to back onto something, like talk about other stuff, and Putin kept being like, well, if you want to have a simple answer, you just want to have an elementary interview. And it's like, come on, dude. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that was Tucker's fault. Putin is just annoying.
I mean, one thing I'm proud of Nick for, he's finally off the Russia train, because like many people like saw Russia versus Ukraine as Jews versus the game, when Russia is also pretty. They have a lot of Jews in Russia. I mean, a ton of Jews in Russia, and also like Putin is not the person you're going to go for fighting Jewish power. He's also a little compromised on that as well, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. England had the same angle where he's all talking about it from that perspective, and I thought it was silly.
Tucker Carlson conducted that interview. I think he can push back on people when he's willing to, and it would have been a more interesting interview if they actually talked about the things and the controversies that they had with one another in a little bit more depth. But to a certain extent, it's Tucker Carlson's show. He can conduct the interviews how he wants, and if you don't like that and you have a large conservative media platform, then you can bring Nick on and you can conduct the interview the way that you prefer to do so. So there's something about that that is just salient and true right there, even though, again, I'm actually somebody who's been disagreeing with Tucker Carlson for a very long time. But again, we will get into that a little bit later. The next faction is, of course, what is being labeled as the neoconservative faction, and this is represented by the Ben Shapiros, the Mark Levins, and all the other people that want to stay the course in terms of America's presence abroad. And of course, obviously, the underlying thing that is causing the division right now in this moment is the issue of Israel. Now, the fourth camp is the Matt Walsh camp, who doesn't want to have all this fighting among the right wing. He wants people to unify, and I just want to knock.
One thing I'm just going to say about the Matt Walsh thing, I don't think it's because he wants people to unify. I think he just wants this because he sort of feels like he's like a wishbone right now, being pulled between both sides. If he believes if they somehow unite, he won't have to choose a side, because he always gets nervous when talking about Israel, about Jews. It's clearly he does not want to talk about the situation. He's sort of trying to appease both sides, but it's kind of getting harder and harder by the day.
Exactly. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. Totally correct.
Out this camp right now at this moment, because in reality, in my opinion, you can't really unify with people when you have these deep ideological divides. Again, a lot of these people consider Israel and America's relationship with that nation at the top of their priorities list. Now, of course, people will often be very quick to point that out as something that is true with a Ben Shapiro or Mark Levin or any of the neoconservative types, but it's also true for the Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes types. I mean, Tucker Carlson, after the election of Zohran Mamdani as the New York City mayor, ended up releasing like a little email letter or something of the sort where he defended Zohran Mamdani. And I'm sorry, guys, but I covered New York City politics a lot. I live in New York City. I didn't want.
Yeah.
I think this is very silly. Like, this is not him defending Mamdani. Like, you can see he's a socialist, true. He's a communist, possibly true. But then what he's talking about is like these charges of anti-Semitism for people that are just maybe not sufficiently pro-Israel, because he had some things that he said about the IDF or whatever. I mean, you can see, even if you just read this right now, you can see a Jew hater. I don't think so. Like, he's calling out these dishonest and bad faith charges of anti-Semitism that are also being used against him. And he's basically saying, look, people have said this about me. Here they're saying it about this guy who he's a socialist, he's a communist, but this is crazy. So I think, casting this as him defending Mamdani.
Right. I kind of did not get why people called him anti-Semitic. I just didn't understand it. I heard many Jewish people saying he's I kind of did not understand it. But I mean, the thing I'll find it weird though is many people Jake Shields or people like that, they criticize Israel for promoting diversity and promoting, endless immigration, stuff like that, and degeneracy. Yet these people, like David Duke is a good example. He endorsed, what's her name again? Jill Stein, who promotes all these things, but she's just not, but the thing that's good about her is she hates Israel. You see, when they get so involved with Israel, the whole main goal of their whole hatred of Israel, they forget for some reason. So that's why.
No, you're right. People let it take over their entire worldview, which is dangerous as well.
And people kind of don't understand that many liberals support Palestine, many socialists support Palestine. I mean, many people just don't understand that for some reason. They think it's only, it's only mainstream people. You know what I mean? So.
On a communist to be elected to the mayor of New York City. So I can't pull a Matt Walsh and just unite with Tucker Carlson when Tucker Carlson is pushing the exact opposite of what I believe, and his justification for a local New York City mayoral position is that we have a good agreement on foreign policy with Mamdani between Tucker and him. No, that's Israel first. Let's be perfectly honest. If you're going to get rid of all conservative values and base everything based on the position on Israel, you are Israel first. You're just anti-Israel as opposed to the Israel people that are pro-Israel, and that's why they put it first. So yeah, for me, that's a no-go. That's a non-starter. I actually think the fighting is good. I actually think it is important because you can't actually have people rowing in different directions and say, oh, well, as long as we get to the goal, then it's totally fine. When again, people have different goals. Like for me, Zohran Mamdani being elected the mayor of New York City, not a good thing. It's not worthy of praise. I don't give a damn about his Israel position, just like I didn't give a damn about Andrew Cuomo's position. And I criticize Andrew Cuomo for running a huge portion of his campaign on the fact that Mamdani didn't like Israel. Now, again, while there are many things that Tucker Carlson has said,
okay, like this is like that was so whole thing was stupid. I agree with him. Like, who cares what Zohran says about Israel? He's the governor of. He's the mayor. He's running for mayor of New York, not for like Paul, like what's it called again? The president of the U.S. or senator. He has no control of what happens in Israel. The whole thing was so stupid. You know what I mean? I don't get what people. Yeah. Anyways.
And done over the
Well,
last
people
couple of
were
years that
attacking
I
him.
have.
Everyone was mad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Tucker was talking about. Like, I think he wasn't saying like, I like Mamdani because he's critical of Israel. He's saying, look at all these people freaking out at Mamdani because he said one thing that was a little critical of Israel. Like that if you look at the statement from Tucker, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Disagreed with. I mean, he did that video in the Russian grocery store where he was like, oh, Russia is being so successful because look at the cost of food in Russia, never actually telling people that cost of food, that $100 for a week's worth of groceries that he overestimated would cost $400 in the United States of America. Even if true that it were that big of a difference based on Russian incomes, that would be too much money for the Russian people to feed themselves on. And yet Tucker Carlson, in a very propagandistic way, called that a success of the Russian state.
Yes, you put in 10 rubles here and you get it back when you put the cart back. So it's free, but there's an incentive to return it and not just bring it to your homeless encampment.
Hey guys, editing Sean here, and I just...
Yeah, no, that was such a boomer move. That says he never heard of Aldi's. Like, how didn't he?
I know, bro. It's so cringe. It just shows how out of touch Tucker is because he's a trust fund kid.
Right. He probably shows. No, and he's going to mention that this is a big thing in hood areas, but even non-hood areas, like Aldi's does this. So it's like, I think Aldi's is famous for doing this. But anyways,
I want to pause at this moment because I forgot that this was in the clip of Tucker at the grocery store, but him praising it where you put the coin in to get the cart and then that makes you return it is one of the most unironically hilarious things humanly possible because it shows that Tucker never goes to the grocery store, and he definitely doesn't go to the grocery store in bad neighborhoods. Because do you know where they have this system where you have to put in a quarter in order to get a cart? The ghetto, the hood, because bad areas, bad neighborhoods don't return the grocery cart. Now, again, it's actually the issue of the price that I have an issue with in this particular video, but this was just too funny for me to not comment on. I mean, come on, Tucker. This is maximum shilling.
I went from amused to legitimately angry. So we were guessing what this would cost. Everybody here from the United States buys groceries, and we didn't pay any attention to costs as we were just putting in the cart what we would actually eat over a week. And we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought. Corruption. If you take people's standard of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they literally can't buy the groceries they want. At that point, maybe it matters less what you say or whether you're a good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us.
For me, I'm not going to divide with somebody over an issue involving a foreign country and their conflict like the nation of Israel, but when you start doing propaganda on American enemies and you do so to the detriment of the United States of America, that's a red flag. And that's something that I have always wondered about ever since I saw that particular segment. And it's made me much more cautious of Tucker Carlson going forward. And I think that is worthy of mention in this particular segment. That being said, Mark Levin basically made himself the most...
By the way, about that whole grocery store thing, I know this is random, but something that I noticed, like, have you ever been to shop the black neighborhoods or got gas in black neighborhoods? Ever had that? Or?
Oh, yeah. And I'll just say, man, watching that clip again, it's so embarrassing the way Tucker was talking, man. It's so, I get like secondhand embarrassment watching that.
No, but like there's a whole myth that blacks have to pay more for products But I've been to black neighborhoods. Their gas is super cheap, and their groceries are also cheap. So I don't really. Maybe it was the old thing, but yeah, it's random thing, but something I just noticed.
Unlikable person in conservative media by giving a ridiculous speech about how, yeah, we're going to cancel people. We're going to cancel Tucker Carlson. And honestly, I got to play this for you because you need to see it for yourself.
And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me, and you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is. Not if I and everybody else have something to say about it.
Now, look, Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are basically in the same camp when it comes to who they're fighting against, who their enemies are. But if you compare this ridiculous speech from Mark Levin to Ben Shapiro's 45-minute episode where he actually made claims about Tucker Carlson and then provided clips, Ben's version or Ben's argumentation, where he actually argues, much more convincing, much more compelling. Again, you can disagree with it. I know a lot of people despise Ben Shapiro. I know a lot of people say, well, Ben and Mark Levin agree on the key issues, and that is a dispute that I'm not willing to let go. But the tactics clearly better from Ben versus Mark Levin. But Mark Levin also is ridiculous in another way, in that Tucker Carlson is...
Yeah, that's true about Ben. You hate Ben Shapiro, but many times he's, especially in this case, he for sure had to get better than Mark. He for sure knows the culture better than Mark Levin does in terms of how people react to stuff. Would you agree with me, or?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, especially if I think he knows this better right now. That's why many issues, even Israel, he knows how to sort of
larger and more successful than Mark Levin. The idea that Mark Levin is going to be able to cancel people that are more effective and obviously have a larger share of the conservative audience is absurd and ridiculous. It's absolutely asinine. You are way overestimating your power. And for you to say, oh, your rinky-dink little podcast and subscription service or radio show is not going to stand up to me and the millions of people behind me, Mark Levin, you're a radio show host too. And in fact, you have a smaller audience. And the idea that somebody is subscription funded, like me over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join, and that therefore makes them weaker than you, who has some form of corporate funding behind you. No, people are not going to buy into that. People are not going to like that. People like the idea that you have audience supported media. And honestly, Mark Levin, I would dismiss him from the ranks if I were on that side of the issue. And he is probably the most likely reason why the Ben Shapiro camp is not going to come out ahead in this particular battle.
Hitler admires, Stalin admires.
Well, I think he got this a little bit. I think Mark Levin might have more power behind the scenes. Do you get what I mean? Is that possible, or am I wrong about this?
No, I do agree with you. Yeah, I think Mark Levin is plugged in with some heavy hitters in the Zionist movement, super heavy donors, and even potentially the Israeli government. And obviously he's here speaking at the RJC. So I think he has good institutional.
Right. That's why so I do think I think he's friends of Netanyahu. So he probably has a bunch of
Jew haters, American haters, Churchill haters. You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them.
I mean, seriously, people, those clips are going around. I believe they happened at the Republican Jewish Coalition. And one of the things that's also notable is that the crowd is not even really cheering all that much for all these different speakers that are now talking about cancellation like it's a good thing. And again, it's just not a good look. It is not a good argument to go on. And it honestly makes Mark Levin sound more desperate and more pathetic. Again, you compare that to Ben Shapiro's show, which of course you can disagree with. You could say you don't like Ben. Ben said, this isn't about cancellation. This is about going after people. And by the way, Ben made one of the points that I think that a lot of people who are talking about how we shouldn't have fighting amongst conservative media should make more often, which is the very same people who say don't attack people on your own side are the ones constantly attacking people. Like Tucker Carlson, again, you might agree with him. In fact, based on Tucker's popularity, I'm almost certain a majority of my audience agrees with him. But the idea that he isn't going after Barry Shapiro frequently on his show while simultaneously having people run cover for him saying that you shouldn't be going after Tucker Carlson because of conservative infighting is absurd. Like, I think we should all scrap this notion of no fighting people, no naming names, and actually have this fight, have this battle. Let the best ideas come to the top, actually live by the principles that we've been stating for over a decade in the face of leftist cancellation, because I don't genuinely think that the worst ideas are going to come to the forefront, even if the left-wing media is pushing for more division in the conservative media movement. And this is where we got to jump back to Nick Fuentes, because I know that there are a lot of people in conservative media that are Nick Fuentes fans behind the scenes, people who wouldn't say so openly, who are slowly inching toward embracing him in honestly kind of cowardly ways, because if you like the guy, you should just actually say it. You should actually endorse him if you want to do that, rather than just like shadowily boosting his ideas while simultaneously trying to maintain plausible deniability, because in my opinion, this kind of cowardice actually lends itself to the power of the cancellation culture that you're saying you're trying to fight against. But we need to also point out the obvious, which is the fact that the mainstream media is also interested in elevating Nick Fuentes, and this is because they believe that Nick will destroy the conservative movement from within. And again, whether or not you believe that's true, neither here nor there, or as the professionals would like to say, neither nya nor nya. The point is that the mainstream media actually believes it, and this is why you're seeing a bunch of articles that are declaring Nick Fuentes the heir of the conservative movement, the heir to Charlie Kirk, which sounds like a headline that comes from some fringe right-wing outlet, but it's actually...
I mean, look at it. They make Nick Fuentes look way more masculine than he really is in this photo. Do you agree with me, or...?
I mean, I read this article.
Right. No,
it was written by
I'm talking about the photo, though. They make him look better than he is. Like, make him look more tough. It's actually a good photo of him, if I'm being real. Like, in terms of.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, they definitely could have chosen a different picture, and I thought I thought the same thing. But if you read the actual article, it's very critical.
Right. No, but do you agree with what he's saying here? Because that's where I got this idea from. Do you agree, or you agree, or you absolutely disagree?
Yeah, but like I mentioned, I do think they're trying to boost this story and like make this disagreement a headline. But it's not like they're trying to boost Nick himself. They're always anytime they mention him, they're like the anti-Semitic, white supremacist, like Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes. They're not trying to make him. Right. They're not trying to whitewash him.
Well, I think they're trying. This is what I think they're trying to do. Remember, like AOC, Bernie Sanders, people like that. The right wing, like AOC is a good example. They were happy when she won the primary, or Zoran Mandani, because they thought they would lose badly. They could be a boogeyman, but ended up blackfiring in their face because they end up winning. So I think that's a similar thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, how did that work out? It's
Exactly.
going to work out just as well.
Yeah, that's why. But I think that might be their goal. I'm not sure. I mean, it's sort of like, you heard the whole rumor about Israel helping create Hamas. You ever heard that whole thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly gave them some money.
Right. So I like, it could be like that sort of thing, or like, or is there like, you ever heard the rumor that Israel supports ISIS? Do you ever heard about that thing? You know what I'm talking about, or?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, which is right. Little do they know, like, this could really blow up in their face badly. But yeah.
A headline from the New York Times. Now, look, the left-wing media trying to elevate Fuentes and encourage more of this fighting on the right wing should be surprising to no one. However, I will say, and this is a warning to those of you out there in the left wing, that this might not be the great strategy that you think it is, because they're under the belief that if you elevate Fuentes, it will be easier to target and destroy people in conservative media based on all the crazy things that Nick has has said over the years, all the edgy things that he said, all the things about Jews in particular, not Israelis or Zionists that he said. But in reality, this is something that Hillary Clinton and her campaign tried. They called it the Pied Piper strategy, where they essentially encouraged the mainstream media to cover now President of the United States, Donald Trump, because they didn't think he was a serious candidate, and they thought that President Trump would lead to the destruction of the Republicans electorally in 2016. How did that work out for you? How did it work out for you, giving him billions of dollars of free media coverage under the premise that he can't possibly win, and then he turned out and won? So you doing this for Nick, even though they think Nick is going to somehow destroy the conservative media movement from within, might actually backfire. It might backfire in the absolute worst way, worse than these people are all expecting, because I do believe that folks over at the New York Times don't actually want Nick to be successful. They would rather him be the leader of a dying movement. But again, you're tempting fate when you start promoting people for the purpose of having them get to the top, for the purpose of hoping that that will destroy the movement. We are a deeply divided country. Every presidential election has been nearly 50-50 over the last, couple of years, decades, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, you elevating this guy to the top, who's obviously talented and charismatic, is likely to backfire and blow up in your face, because there is a chance that Nick wins out in the end. Now, look, I've talked about this before. I was at like a CPAC event or a Turning Point event, and Nick was running a parallel event that was like right after it, but like during the same cycle. And we actually made our way over there, a bunch of people in conservative media. And one of the things you realize if you actually meet Nick is that the guy is pretty politically savvy. He made it a point to introduce himself to each and every single person. If you were even a YouTuber like me that does not have much notoriety, and by the way, this was years ago, so I had a much smaller audience, he knew who you were, he knew who the players were, and he totally went on a charm offensive to a lot of people that came over in our group, because he understands the power, even if he doesn't get people to publicly endorse him, of winning hearts and minds. The guy has a strategy. The guy has a plan. All of that bluster and outrage that people see being portrayed in the mainstream media, that is to draw more attention, get more viral clips in order to suck people into his ideology. And yes, to a certain extent, it is working. I mean, again, he's being interviewed by PBD. He's being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. He is getting himself on all of these platforms from once being the most canceled man in the United States of America. And if you don't realize that elevating him with mainstream outlets like the New York Times in the hopes that he will be the self-destruct button for the conservatives is a mistake, then you're not paying attention. And again, I say this as someone who, if you watch my channel, have made it clear that I have a lot of disagreements with the Fuentes types. And yeah, the idea that he can't win in the end is just absurd. It's just ridiculous. And by the way, this actually runs contrary to strategies that have worked in the past, and by the way, have been implemented by people like the late Charlie Kirk. When Nick and his Groypers started going to Turning Point events and targeting Charlie Kirk and trying to call him out for his position on immigration and for the organization not being religious enough, what did Charlie do? Charlie didn't embrace Nick and bring him into the fold. What he did was pluck some ideas from Nick that were gaining in popularity, and he assimilated them into the Turning Point organization, because make no mistake about it, Turning Point definitely changed their position on immigration due to the backlash that was ginned up by Nick Fuentes. And of course, Charlie ended up starting all these different religious organizations within Turning Point, where he got a bunch of pastors together to make sure they were locking down the religious undercurrent that was also supporting Nick. This is very similar to the strategy that the Republicans did when David Duke started raising the issue of affirmative action, which was take the issue and leave the person. If you actually want to defeat somebody like Nick, then what you have to do is figure out the issues that he's bringing up that you think are worthwhile, that can be assimilated into the movement, and then you cut him out of the process after the fact.
Okay, that's not going to. That's what Tucker Carlson actually tried to doing, but they're not going to compromise. They're not going to be anti-Israel and anti-Jew, like that sort of thing. Like that is the problem, though. They don't disagree only with what Nick said. Like immigration, they could compromise over, but they're not going to compromise over Israel and the Jewish people. I mean, like. That's one thing he's not understanding here. Do you get what I mean, or no? Or
I do think you're spot on that Tucker is trying to do this.
He tried to,
I think,
but then he brought.
I think it's possible. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's still happening. We'll see what happens. But I think in the end, it's going to have to be like an anti-Israel movement. It can't be it's not going to be anti-Jewry or whatever Nick wants to call it.
Right. For sure, yeah. So maybe, but I don't think the higher ups in the Conservative Party are going to be willing to because they're like Matt Walsh. I hope this is not sounding whatever here, but they're using him as a person to sort of compromise, sort of like the extreme Nick Fuentes type, but he does not talk about Jews. That's his whole thing. That's what Matt Walsh is. He's the extreme. He's the extreme version that but leaves out the Jews in it. So I mean, like, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah. No, I think you're right on.
You essentially take the animating issues for his base, assimilate that into the conservative movement as long as it aligns with values that you already have, a la affirmative action, and then
I think their Daily Wire is trying to do this though. Like you heard that they got like a Catholic podcaster, Quintus, whatever, Quine with a pint. You know what I'm talking about, or?
Yeah, it's all. I mean, I'm not Catholic, so to me, it's all cringe. But yeah, it does seem they're trying to.
Yeah, they're trying to. So yeah. So.
You don't have to include the person if that's ultimately your goal, which a lot of people seem to believe that their goal is to make sure Nick does not take over the conservative mainstream. Again, the only people that are outwardly in favor of that are the left-wing media because they think Nick will destroy the mainstream of conservatism. But again, even that is not a guarantee and is also a dangerous game. But that's how you would do it historically with somebody who occupies a similar space to Nick Fuentes. Now, obviously, David Duke, different figure, different base, all that. We understand that. That's just an example that I'm giving. But that's how you would do it. That's how you would actually fight back if you had any intelligence. But unfortunately, the Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin side has Mark Levin in it, and he appears to not have any intelligence at all whatsoever. So he thinks his dumbass radio show is going to cancel Tucker Carlson. Now, with all that being said, I want to know what you guys think about all this. I tried to give a fair analysis and fair critiques to each and every party that participated or is participating in this particular fight, but I leave the question up to you on who you think is going to win this battle within the conservative movement. And also, in addition to that, who do you think should win, like morally should win this particular battle? Because this is actually multiple different questions. Also, do you think I was being a little bit unfair to Matt Walsh's camp, which is like the kumbaya, let's just ignore these fundamental differences, get along and try to move forward to a fundamentally similar goal, even though I don't think the goal is actually all that similar at this moment in time. Again, let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them, leave it a like.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say. Sir?
I'll give my take real quick. I think overall it's a pretty smart analysis. I mean, it's not. I mean, I've voiced my opinion that one time that I disagree with what he said, but overall, I think he's pretty close. But he ignores the elephant in the room, which is that these people like Levin and Ben Shapiro, they're obviously Israel first. Like we have these people in the so-called American conservative movement, and their loyalty lies with a different country, and we need to call that out, and we need to stop that. Like Nick is not the best messenger. He's not the perfect, champion for this. But at the end of the day, like he thinks he's working on behalf of America. He's trying to do what's best for his country, as wrong as he could be about some things. And these other people are actively working for a different country. That's their number one priority. And so I think this guy needs to have some courage and call that out.
Right. I mean, like one thing I'm just going to say here. First thing, I do think there is a thing like Nick could do better in that. But you could call out Jews for their support of Israel and maybe treating Israel first, but you could also try to not dehumanize them in the sense, like say. But I also think the same problem we have with Italians. Granted, they don't have as much control. That's the thing. You could say that, but they also might have more loyalty to Italy, or Catholics. They have more loyalty to the Vatican for sure. So I mean,
you're totally right about Catholics, but there's no Italian. Like Italians don't have the same kind of affinity for Italy that many Jews do for Israel. It's just not the same. It's a false equivalency. I mean, the Catholic thing maybe, and that was a big issue. Is that was a big reason why people were so anti-Catholic back in the day. But even that is not as severe as it once was. But I mean, on the Israel thing, like we were giving billions of dollars to them. We support them with our military. We underwrite everything that they do. Right. It's a big problem. And there's these people that are supposed to be the leaders of the American conservative movement, and that is their number one issue. It's just not right.
No, I'm not saying that the scale is different for sure, but I think Italians, they do have a very big affinity for Italy. You never they're very if you met any Italians.
If
or,
that was impacting U.S. policy in a negative way, and they had the same kind of sway over people, where if I said something negative about Italy, they could get me fired and ruin my life, people would be calling that out. But that's just not happening. So so nobody cared.
Right. I mean, the thing is, I think people have to know is some Jews might seem like. I remember Nick Fuentes when they asked him, "You said you choose the Vatican over America." He said, "Yeah, but I believe that's whatever. That's God's thing. I'm choosing God over America." I think many people see the same thing with Israel, if that makes sense. Many Jews might see that with Israel, but
Well, that's fine. But as an American, I reject both of those.
Right, exactly.
I'm against both of those things.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's a good thing. It's a good thought if how would some people react if radical jihadists would attack? There would be if the Vatican's were a neighbor with radical jihadists. So I mean, in a sense, it's unfortunate for the Jews that they had to pick a land like that, but essentially they did choose this for themselves. I mean, even though but I think this is the thing I'm gonna say about the video is what he gets wrong is that the problem they have with Nick Fuentes, they're never going to compromise with him over with the whole Israel and Jew thing. Now, what they are trying to do, I think, is similar to Charlie Kirk, is they're trying to be more right wing on other issues, like race issues, like Ben Shapiro supported what's his name again, Derek Chauvin being pardoned, and we're seeing Matt Walsh and many people in the Daily Wire being more extreme on race issues and social issues and stuff like that. So that's what I think they're doing.
You're totally right. They're basically they're in the bargaining phase. They're basically like, hey, we'll give you everything you want, but not Israel. We'll give up on every other issue you can be. We can talk about Black Lives Matter. We can talk about illegal immigration. We could even talk about reducing legal immigration, but we can't talk about the Israel question.
Right. Yeah, and I think they're going to. I'm going to say one thing. I do believe they have some smart people running the Daily Wire, so maybe they're going to find a solution to this. I mean, but who knows? It's all up to God at the end of the day.
I totally agree. I know some people that work at the Daily Wire. They have smart people there, but at the end of the day, you can have the smartest people in the world, and you play them a stinker of a hand like this. There's nothing you can do. It's a losing issue. There's almost nothing you can do.
I'll put it this way. I say most people hate Israel, hate Jewish people, not because of Israel necessarily, because they believe it's a double standard. And once they get rid of the double standard thing, which I think they're trying to do at the Daily Wire, I think many people will be more sympathetic, but I don't know. It's at the end of the day, who knows what will happen? Who knows?
I agree, but the whole thing is a double standard. It's Ben Shapiro going on stage and talking about how evil identity politics is, when his entire worldview is identity politics. It's like the entire thing is a double standard on top of a double standard. It's a house of cards. And now that the censorship is failing, people are calling it out, and they can't. There's nothing they can do. They're just going to lose.
To be fair for Ben Shapiro, he can't be racist. If he acts racist, the Daily Wire has some restraints. They can't be like Jared Taylor. Jared Taylor never talks about Jews. Yeah, he's canceled because there is limits to them. That Candace Owens, granted they did fire her. There's a reason why they fired her. But even if they didn't want to fire her, they would have had to fire her anyways because sponsors would have just dropped. So I mean, in a sense,
she has plenty of sponsors now. She's got sponsors, doesn't she?
Yeah, but mainstream sponsors like that Daily Wire has,
she's getting way more views than Daily Wire.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens at the end. But yeah, it was a great stream though. Last stream, I know this didn't have a lot of viewers, but I think after what's it called again? After the stream, it usually gets more viewers. I think But yeah, it was a good
people will check it out.
Yeah. The last stream I did, if you want to check, you can check it. It was very, very bad. The last stream, but this stream was actually good. When not talking about the stream with you. I'm talking about the stream I did earlier this Thursday. But yeah, this stream was good.
What was so bad about it?
No, it wasn't the video. The stream we're watching was a Jubilee video, Ellie Beth Stuckey's Christian video.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah, it was so boring. And the other person, I think he was I think he just did it sort of for me as a favor. And it was it just didn't work well. But this one actually went well. This one really went well, I think. So yeah, I guess we're going to.
Well, it was nice talking with you, and I appreciate the invite as always.
Of course, me too. Thank you so much. Bye.